Right, so Heat.
Yes.
His rather gruesome departure from his mortal coil.
Heat the human shield.
Heat the human shield and the jumped up little shit of a supervisor for the ISB.
Yeah. No sympathy for his demise.
Not really. I don't know. He's kind of been thrust into it, but he reaches. He grabs with both hands when power is granted to him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's not particularly pleasant to those beneath him.
No. I mean, fair play, he goes out on the... I mean, he kind of almost makes the same mistake that Deirdre did, isn't it? It's just kind of storming in to go and find, the signal. And why put yourself in the front line of danger like that?
Well, he doesn't really, does he? He steps... It's like the guys he's with, the security guys are like, we've got it from here, so you can step to one side. Which he does, and it's only because K2's coming up at the rear that he even gets involved, because they've gone and he's in a corridor. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm safe," and then K2 comes up behind.
Exactly.
Boom.
But I think if I was, a clerk, I probably wouldn't be going out on these kind of sorties at all. I'd be like, I'll just stay at my desk if you don't mind.
Yes.
And that's
Come on, guys.
but that's his character, isn't it? And that's ultimately his downfall. Is he wants to be the. So he's got some of those same flaws that Deirdre has. He wants to be the one.
And also you got to remember he's had the wind put up him by Krennic.
Yeah.
What are you still doing here?
Yes.
Basically, if I see you at your fucking desk again, you're gone. You're done.
That was funny.
That's probably why he's there. That's the only reason he's like, I have to see this through personally, because not only that, I don't want to be in this building. I can't be here.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, he probably thinks he'd rather take his chances out in the field. But brutal from K2SO, and this is something I'm just slightly unsure on the consistency of K units taking blaster shots, because
that I think I no, you're right on that, because when K2SO meets his demise in Rogue One, it's because stormtroopers are shooting him.
Yeah,
and I don't know what. Maybe it's a couple of years. It's not a couple of years later. It's a couple of days later, isn't it? I was going to say maybe technology's moved on. It hasn't moved. Blaster technology has changed in the next 3 days.
Well, because on Gorman, when we introduced to him, he just tanks all those shots, doesn't he? It doesn't seem to phase him at all.
Nothing touches him at all.
But then I remember in Rogue One, there's a bit where Jin shoots another unit, because that's where he says "How did you know that wasn't me?" kind of line.
Did you know that wasn't me?
Yeah. And she basically one shots.
Yeah.
Another. Well, no. I don't want to nitpick. I know it is.
I mean, it is. You are nitpicking, but you are quite right. It is an inconsistency.
Yeah, it's just a little something
which got picked up in the Gorman episodes. I think the fact that there's no, in Rogue One, those units, as much as they are mean fighting machines.
Yeah.
They are very susceptible to blaster shots. And K2SO himself meets his demise because he's getting shot to shit.
Gets peppered, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could say they got different strengths of blaster fire. I don't know. I'll draw a line under it and I'll move on. I've said my piece.
I'll move along.
I've said my piece.
But we see Melshi in that as well. And Melshi's, I think we've already said that. I forget about whether we've spoken it on air or not off air, but like Melshi was a character from Rogue One, one of the kind of military guys who had a bit of a peripheral role in that. He was part of the Rogue One squad, wasn't he? That went to what's the name of the planet? They speak about
Scarif.
it. Scarif, that's it. Scarif, who goes to Scarif, and
that's right.
Assuming dies.
So it turns out it wasn't. Biggs or...
It wasn't Biggs, it wasn't Wedge.
Wedge.
We didn't see any of those characters.
It was a guy that we knew who it was.
Yeah, it was a guy who knew who it was. Yeah, we also see a lot of Senator Organa on this as well.
Yes.
Who I think we had a weird conversation a few weeks ago about Senator Organa and his whereabouts at the point at which Alderaan was destroyed. He was definitely on Alderaan. It's not for debate, that.
Yes. Yeah, which is what I was saying.
I know. I am agreeing with
Yes,
you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I was wrong. You were right.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what I was actually. I can't even remember what I was saying on the subject. I think I was
bailed.
I was.
Well, it sounded like you'd never seen A New Hope, is what it sounded like. So
don't tell anyone, Stefan.
That you're only 14 years old and you grew up with the sequels.
What I was getting confused about was the. I thought we were talking about the opening scene where the Death Star plans were over Tatooine. That's what I thought we were talking about. I have seen that film.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, that was what I thought we were talking about. I mean, I was still wrong when you corrected me on what you were actually talking about. I still got it wrong, so I'm not trying to make excuses for that. But initially, the reason the conversation was so difficult is because we were talking about two different things.
Which is cross wires. That's all it was.
Exactly.
We'll say no more. I won't bring it up all the time.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Melshi was there. Melshi plays a key role in it because, oddly, for some reason. And this was one of the things I thought was a bit weird. Is the three people who were affected by the the shock, like grenade thing,
stun grenade,
thing. Like you've got
Claire came off best, didn't he?
You got Claire who's completely incapacitated by it. Cassian gets a momentary shock, and Melshi just seems to be like, "Yeah, crack on."
Yeah.
Lucky he does.
Double hard or just he's out. It feels like it goes off right next to him.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just he was tucked into a corner. Maybe he just kind of he'd seen them
the
before.
Right angle.
Yeah, he'd seen him before. Knew to close his eyes, cover his ears, or something. I don't know.
No, Claire really took the brunt of that, didn't she? Blimey,
threw her into a wall. I think
that whole scene, where Melchin and Cassian have gone to rescue Claire. And the ISB guys are closing in. I didn't feel like any urgency of the guys in the apartment.
Yeah, but they did. I think part of the problem with that was that she didn't want to go. She did not want. She had no interest in going. She's like, at one point, she's like, Yavin, is that to be my sanctuary, or so? Is that to be my savior, or something along those lines? And she's like, I don't want to go. I know what those people thought of Luther.
Yeah.
Why would I want to be with her?
But it just I don't know. Because it was like a parallel montage of them kind of just having a chill chat about it in the apartment. Meanwhile, the ISB guys are scrambling around like blue ass flies, honing in on them.
Yeah.
And then the episode ends, and then it opens episode 12, and they're still there in the apartment talking about it.
Come on.
And it's like, for fuck's sake, we're trying to inject a bit of tension into this scene, and it's just the three of them having a little leisurely. Yeah. It didn't totally work for me. I did scene.
Think that scene and the way it was kind of split over the two episodes was an odd quirk of how these things came out.
Yeah,
because I think as the viewer, for me, kind of, let's say, watching them one after the other without a gap, it's almost just like having an advert, really, and you just come back in and it doesn't. Yeah. But I can imagine if you watch those. If you come to these series later, and you step into those, you might think, "Oh, that's a bit odd." They're still cracking on with this.
I agree, and I think, and it sounds like this is probably going to spill into next week. We'll probably dive into whether the 3 episodes at a time worked or not.
Yes,
because I think there's some good chat to be had, or interesting chat to be had around that. Whether it would be good.
Do you think? Would you do?
No, I'm not. I'm not falling necessarily one side or the other. I think we need to dig into it together and
discuss it,
wheedle it out, figure it out between us.
Objectively.
But I don't want to do a rush job on it now.
No.
But you're totally right. It was odd, and whilst we're on it, this middle episode 11, I really didn't think it was a very good episode.
Who else knows?
Yeah, what really happened? We had.
I'll be honest. I struggle to remember what happened in each individual episode.
Well, I can tell you. Basically, we have the Deidre goes to jail, and she has that chat with Krennic, the finger on top of the head stuff. They spend a lot of time looking at CCTV in the hospital. To figure out
that guy, the technician guy who runs that is quite funny.
He is funny. He's
like, oh yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because I just wanted to go. He's like, just shut up and hurry up.
It was hilarious. And then you had them going to rescue Clea, and then it ended with them in Clea's apartment.
Yes.
And that was pretty much it for that episode. And I thought, this is the penultimate episode, and
we get them playing some sort of card game. I don't know what that was.
It just for me it was a bit of a sag, and 12 obviously did what it needed to do, but that middle episode I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
But again, I think
was this episode?
I don't. No, I quite liked some of the stuff in that. I did like the stuff in the apartment. I particularly like the Krennic interviewing Dedra stuff. I thought that was great.
It was okay.
I think the stuff I really like about the Krennic thing is like at that point it's that classic thing of shit rolling downhill, isn't it? It's like Dedra is learning her place, Partagaz is learning his place, and we know from Rogue One that at some point Krennic is going to learn his place.
Yeah, from Vader.
So it's kind of, we know that's he's going to get his comeuppance, but in the same breath, I do, I quite liked all that stuff, and I liked that interaction with her in the interrogation room. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great piece of.
It was great.
Drama.
It really was.
And I like where she's like, I had to be a scavenger because I am, and because she's worked away from the bottom. Like she's she's done. That's how she's got where she is. She came from an orphanage. She wasn't. She hasn't come from money or whatever else.
No, or privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And there were good bits in it, but I think just going back again to the 3-part thing that we just said we weren't going to talk about. If episode 11 was all we'd had for a week, I'd probably be fuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was only knowing I could go straight on and watch the next one.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the quirks of it. I think it gave them the freedom to just go, actually, this can be a bit quiet because we can take it on. The next one will come.
Yeah, you got something else right round the corner with no delay.
One of the things I really like the use of in this, I don't think it was in this episode. I think it was in episode 12, because it's just before Partagaz meets his demise, and I can't remember the name of the guy. There's a who's the guy from the ISB who's a bit of a snake. Who's like
Legret.
Legret, is he the guy? Yeah, he's the guy, isn't he?
He's the guy who says, "I've got to bring you down."
Yeah, somehow he's squirmed his way out of any responsibility for anything, really.
He was the guy who was on call. Was he the guy that was like woken up in the middle of the night and had to take over in an earlier episode?
So he was the guy who was running. He was running things when Mon Mothma was giving a speech in the Senate.
Oh,
and he was the one ordering them to shut down the feed and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And somehow he fucked all that up. That didn't get any pay back for it.
No.
He did. Well, he didn't really fuck it up. People around him fucked it up, but he seemingly wormed his way out of that.
Yeah, didn't seem to be ultimately accountable for it.
But this is part of the part. He's not ultimately accountable because Partagaz has probably covered for him and said, "Don't do that again. That's stupid." But when it's Partagaz, he goes and he's like, But he shows him a level of sort of professional courtesy, doesn't he? Where he's outside with the stormtroopers and he's like,
and he seems to know what's about to happen, doesn't he?
Yeah, of course he does.
And it's that because Partagaz says, "Oh, will you just allow me a moment to collect my thoughts?" And there's a good couple of seconds before Legret says, sort of nods or acknowledges.
Yeah.
And it's like he knows in his head, I know what he's going to do now.
Yeah.
And that's why he's outside. And when the stormtroopers react to the blaster shot, he's sort of like, "No, it's all right, guys, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And I found that so interesting and so well written that
powerful, wasn't it?
He knew what was going to happen.
He's probably thinking himself, he's like, I wouldn't go and face what he's about to face.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got to be in for a force choking for sure, hasn't he? Yeah. For allowing what he's allowed in his ranks.
Yeah. So I used to, I worked with Captain Neda, and he's got close a couple of times. I don't know what happened with him soon. So, but what I was going to say, and the lead up to that, the use of the Nemec monologue.
Yeah, and I had to look that up because I'd totally forgotten about that. But
absolutely
great speech. I'd totally forgotten about that.
Yeah, it just keeps spreading, doesn't it?
How did he get hold of that recording?
I think it must have been. It's been picked up by the ISB at some point, hasn't it?
Yeah. Again, just layers within layers. Like we We don't know how or why. We just know they've got their means.
Tyranny requires constant effort.
That's right. Or it leaks and breaks or
something like that. But it's
it's a really good speech. His fantastic manifesto, they called it. Nemik's manifesto.
Yeah, it was brilliant, but it's absolutely fantastic. And they when they're doing, because they do that bit at the end, where he's like, what Cassian says to Vel, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And Vel's properly vicious, isn't she?
She is.
He's like, starts talking about Aldani, and he says, that I've heard people claim they were there, and she's like, I would probably kill anyone who said that. And she's not joking.
I believe you. No, she's tough as nails.
I believe you would kill them. Maybe because she's like just thinking about, well, Cinta was there, she's gone. And my friend Nemik was there, he's gone.
Exactly.
And it's just that kind of, then they start toasting to everyone. And it's like, will you toast Luthen with me? And she's like, just this once.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very strong stuff.
Mm.
And Claire decides to go on a bit of a walkabout, doesn't she?
Mm.
She's like, fuck this. Checks herself out of the med bay or whatever and just has a little wander around in the rain for no particular reason that I could fathom.
Yeah. But she wakes up the next morning, she finds like it must be like for her character to get inside that. It's like she wakes up the next morning and she sees people on like military training and people building stuff and like a proper organised rebellion that to that point she's kind of peripherally maybe been aware of, but not had any actual involvement in. So she's played her role in building all that. Like when she started when we saw the flashback stuff, when she started with Luthen, it was just the two of them.
Yeah.
And now she's like, oh, we're not on our own anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe Luthen should have trusted people a little bit more, and maybe we should have been playing a more active role in this.
Yeah, but I mean, they were just in the shadows for so long, weren't they?
But it's a good job they were, because if they weren't,
well,
never have discovered about the Death Star.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel it diminishes the beginning of Rogue One a little bit about the Death Star info coming in?
No, I think they handled that quite well.
Yeah?
Because of the amount of doubt.
Right.
There's a lot of doubt. They're basically they're like, this is mental. I think one of the like council members even says this is just paranoid delusion.
Yeah, puffed up speculation.
And you can tell, like, Organa, he's still not sure. Even when he goes to see Cassian in his house, he's like, I don't, like, just go and have a look. Like, I don't really trust you.
Yeah, there is. I was just wondering because like I said, I popped on the start of Rogue One again and skipped to the bit where Cassian goes to meet Tivik.
They're building a weapon.
And he says they're building a weapon, and Cassian's like, "What's a weapon?" Like he hasn't heard that. Right. Do you know? I know. I don't. In my head, I thought they could have tied it up a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue One's already kind of done by it. Probably more. The start of Rogue One needs changing more than this needs changing. Which I know sounds ridiculous.
We'll wait for the special edition.
No, I mean it's ridiculous given the order they're put out in. But it does make more sense. Knowing what we know now, the conversation perhaps should have been, "We've heard this." And it's like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah, so it felt more of a corroborating.
But I don't know. But then even still, I think it still kind of works because, as I say, there's that element of. Like Draven goes to see him, doesn't he? And says to him, if this is a trap, it's a brilliant way to do it. So perhaps Cassian would go in with the mindset of, I'm not going to tell him that I know anything. Yeah,
and that's, and I guess it succeeds. Well, it's always got that excuse as, well, Cassian lies, he's a spy. Of course, he's not going to play his hand each time.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've got that kind of dramatic irony that we know things that the characters don't, and, you know, etc. So not I don't want to blow that out of proportion at all, but
it ruins the whole thing though.
Yeah,
no,
totally ruined.
Yeah.
But you know they end it. He does that long slow motion walk to his ship, doesn't he? And it's he sees and even Melchi's seems to be leading a platoon of guys.
That's the Rogue One guys, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the Rogue One guys.
on a sortie.
Yeah. Sees the
we
Force healer.
we see the Force woman. He gives her a little nod, as a that's sort of I guess he's made peace with.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty horrible to her, wasn't he? And
Have you
actually,
set this up?
We actually get someone. What's his face actually says, "May the Force be with you," doesn't he? Oh, it's Organa, I think, says it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He actually says to Cassian, "May the Force be with you," and that was kind of really jarring because. Did we hear that at all in any of the rest of these episodes? I don't.
We certainly heard it it's certainly in Rogue One. Know that. Because Jin says it. I don't know if we have heard it in the rest of Andor.
It was just the. Yeah, it was. I'm not sure what why at that point he chose to do it, but it was a little reminder that actually we're seeing a little microcosm of the rest of the galaxy goings on.
I suppose it would make sense for Organa to say it, because maybe in his head, Organa's already thinking like, who can I pass this on to that I know will look after this data correctly and deliver it to where it needs to be if. And he's going, I need to have a chat with Leia.
Yeah.
Leia can tell us.
Yeah, Leia would have been, 17 or 18 at this point, because this is 1 year before the Battle of Yavin, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Maybe she's shown some.
Yeah.
Because obviously they know, he knows who Leia's real dad is.
Yeah.
So he's come from that world of Jedi and Force stuff. So
he loves it.
Yeah.
He's
all
a
over
big believer.
Yeah, obviously trusts Obi-Wan quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was just interesting that he just sort of chucked that out there with no precursor to it. But it was good to hear. Nicely reminded that the Force is a thing as well.
Yeah, and we see the sort of like video call with Saw Gerrera as well in this, don't we? Which I quite liked.
Yeah. They're like, you're on Jeddah, aren't you? He's like, no, you don't know where I am.
If only you fought as well as you lie.
Yeah,
and the whole room just like, oh yeah,
that shuts them all up.
Fair point.
He just hangs the phone up then, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's brilliant. I think Forrest Whitaker. He's one of those roles. You're like, it's just made for someone. Like he just does it brilliantly.
He's so good, isn't it? He's so good in it. He really is. Yeah, and I guess we should talk about the final shots back on that wheat mining planet with Bix.
I mean, that knowing what we know about where Cassian's just gone and the route that's going to take him on for the next few days of his life, which will turn out to be his last few days of his life. I mean, that hits hard. Like, explains why Bix left.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, that child, so she left, basically a year before this?
Yeah.
And that child is probably somewhere in the region of 4 to 6 months old, I would guess.
I guess so.
Or slightly younger.
I think the maths works out.
Yeah. Unless she's gone back and just shacked up with some guy.
In
which case she's like, oh.
She got over him quick, didn't she?
Maybe that was what the tug on the heartstrings was. She went and had an affair?
Yeah. Oh. What a bitch.
While Cassian's off fighting for the galaxy.
Dear, oh dear.
No, I think it's
very poignant, isn't it?
I think it's meant to be something else, yes.
It's, yeah, like you say, we know what happens to Cassian. Now we know a piece of him lives on.
Indeed.
And that is a heartwarming thought.
It is very much so.
Rather than thinking, oh fuck, everyone dies.
Grow up to be a farmer.
Little baby. Well, yeah, I wonder. I was trying to think, could they tie in that baby being someone that we know about later on? But trying to think.
That's a lot later. I mean, that's going to have to be like sequel trilogy.
Yeah. Could be.
Don't think so.
Could be Dameron Poe.
Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron as well. Could be him. Or him.
Well, in the modern world we live in, it could be Ray. I don't know. Actually, we don't know the gender of the child. We have no idea.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're just
Actually,
we're
that's
just spitballing here.
Let's move off this before we get cancelled.
Well, just on that, this shows how well when it's well written, that Star Wars fans are totally accepting of strong female characters in Star Wars.
This was all these last few episodes were all about the women, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how brilliantly when the writing's good,
Yeah.
Suddenly that whole toxic discussion around the gender of characters and sexuality of characters and so on just seems to disappear.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen any of that rubbish in discussing this. I haven't seen a load of people going on about, oh, why is Mon Mothma or Vel or Bix or Dedra or any of these fantastic female characters that we got.
Well, I think Mon Mothma, she's a Lucas character, so
that's true.
They're not gonna have a go at her.
No, she's got the armor,
yeah,
Lucas armor,
and I think it's I think they probably people are entitled to their opinion on all sorts of things,
of course,
but I think if you're coming at this series and to have a go at it, come well armed.
Yes,
because there's plenty to throw back the other way.
Yeah. You're in
and
for
again,
a fight.
I know it's subjective and all about an opinion, but if you're coming at this, make sure you got your fucking house in order.
Exactly.
Because you ain't going to get very far, I don't think.
Yeah, because there's no way you can say this series panders to box ticking exercises or anything like that. No. It's just well written, and
it's the breadth of characters as well. Like it's just there's nothing, it's not really about one thing, is it?
No,
there is such a broad range, and this is what I find remarkable. I mean, I don't know what the budget was for this series, but
I'm surprised.
I've not looked. I apologise, but it's
not good enough.
It's in terms of world building and depth of story, breadth of characters. It's huge.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was thinking? Watching the final 3 episodes, all I could think about was this is Star Wars version of Game of Thrones.
That's a really good analogy.
That's what I thought. This is Game of Thrones in Star Wars, and that's not. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm not saying that it's a rip-off, and I'm not saying that it's lazy copying or anything like that. But if you think about the scale,
Game
of Thrones, and the storytelling of Game of Thrones, and the threads, exactly,
the character arcs,
and the cold-hearted nature, and how it's very comparable, I would say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it pulls no punches. There's no sugarcoating. It's just gritty, awful reality.
Quite, and helped by what Game of Thrones didn't have, which is Game of Thrones didn't have a definitive end, didn't have to have a definitive end at least. Yeah, this I think was very much helped by the fact that it was.
We knew the end.
Yeah, we knew the end. But even then, I think they still had to be quite disciplined with it because.
Yeah.
I mean, this series, in reality, they've rushed it along, haven't they? They've gone year by year.
Yeah.
3 episodes per year. I mean, they could have easily, if Disney had felt the need, they could have quite easily gone, oh, this is a great series. People seem to like it. We won't end it here. What we'll do is the next series will be an entire year, and then the series after that will be an entire year, and we can get like a 6 series out of it.
Yeah.
But it must have taken some discipline on their end, because I imagine I know I was thinking as soon as this finished, I was thinking like, what can they do with any of these characters? Because there will be people at Disney thinking, we need to do something with these characters.
Yeah, it's got to be some spin-offs or something.
Like a Dedra origin story, or some sort of spin-off, or Dedra escaping from
Pokey,
or wherever she is, Nikina.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of thing. It just,
What if her cellmate is Andy Serkis, his character? She's like, I can't swim.
or he's
like,
learned
all
to swim now. He's like,
learned to swim.
It's like he didn't escape, and he's yeah, that's weird. Actually, that's interesting because I felt like there was news last year that he'd signed up for this series, and clearly hadn't. Otherwise, unless it was a very very short cameo, I don't know.
Maybe he was an alien or something.
Yeah, maybe
did a bit of mocap.
Back
to his origins.
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we do see some sort of spin-off.
They'd almost be foolish not to, wouldn't they? Because by all accounts, like you said, with the ratings this has got, it's a license to print money and green light some more.
Or a film, maybe.
Yeah, a film would be great. They could definitely. I mean, if they the little pockets of time they're able to squeeze stories out of, there must be a way of finding some niche or something that they could do more, because they've established these fantastic characters that we were all so involved and connected to. You know, they could definitely do another project with it for sure. We know it's not going to be another Andor series, but that's not to say they couldn't do something else with it. And it'd probably be shit, and it probably wouldn't be, by the same team. It'd probably be a whole different. Is it Tony Gilroy, the guy who made all this? But
no, I don't think so. I think that if it's made by the same people, you've got to put your trust. After this, I'll put it this way: after Rogue One, after this, I've got to put my trust in that they'll make things that are there to be made. Not, and I wouldn't surprise me if we're still, I think there's, I don't know what there might be, but maybe there could be. Maybe there's an ISB one to be created.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like
how did
they go from end of the Clone Wars to the ISB that we see today?
Yeah,
that's quite an interesting story.
Partagaz origin story.
Yeah, give Anton Lesser more screen time.
He deserves it.
Get Doc Brown back involved.
Doc Brown. Yeah. I forgot he popped up.
Yeah, he was quite a prominent part in the first one.
Yeah.
It was him who tore Cyril a new one when he went to see him on.
Did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Pre-More. As a Pre-More security agent.
I really should watch Series 1 again now. At least that'll give me my fix.
Yeah.
I'll probably keep going, oh yeah, and I forgot, that makes more sense now. That's why Hutch said all that stuff that I pretended to understand.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Really au fait with everything you're saying.
But either way, I thought the whole thing bloody good, and I thank them for making it, because
it was worth the wait.
Oh, so I mean, we won't do a full season review now, but you know how much I love the first one. You know how much I love Rogue One. And this one I had obviously high expectations for. And the best thing I can say about this was they gave me something that I didn't even know I wanted. I had no idea that I wanted this story. I had no idea.
Kind of gift.
Yeah, I had no idea that this was how I wanted it to play out. I had no idea that any of the plot or anything on this, other than the fact that I knew where it would end.
Yeah.
I had no preconceived idea of what should happen and when it should happen, and yet they've blown me away with it. It's fantastic.
No, I agree. I really do agree. Yeah, I think should we do a roundup next week? We'll do. We'll dedicate a good chunk of time next week to doing it. It's a good sort of 15-20 minute chunk. One thing we didn't mention is the bit at the end where they got the bit of the montage going through with the music over the top, and I mean the score has been brilliant, by the way, throughout the series. Yeah,
I've spent a lot of time every time a 3-episode chunk. I don't know if you noticed this, but every time a 3-episode chunk has been released, they've done an album to go with it.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've been listening to those as we go, and it has been fantastic throughout. And the music has subtly changed throughout the time as well.
From the rave music at the wedding.
That
was a banger.
And on the subject of the wedding and the people who were having a good time at the wedding, the montage at the end where it cuts to Perrin.
And
the mother-in-law who
sharing a cab or something.
Yeah, they're clearly sharing some
He's
good
moved
times.
on. Yeah.
Yes.
He's definitely moved on, hasn't he?
He's now banging her. Because they're just basically
well, they're sharing a cab. They've had a drink.
Pair of hedonists.
We don't know quite what the nature of their relationship is.
I mean, it suggests.
Yeah.
It suggests that they're. Yeah.
Yeah. It does. It does. Yeah. And apparently there was a deleted scene where Perrin said to Mon, "I know what you're up to, and you can trust me. Don't worry about it," kind of thing. So almost like he resigned to his fate
I think he could.
Yeah,
I think he could.
The dutiful
I think she could. Sorry,
of,
I think he could be trusted. I just think I said earlier in the series. I think he was coming around. I think he was sort of realizing that she was great and he needed to support her a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of rewatching the wedding speech that he gave, because I think maybe there was some more clues in there about how he feels about stuff. But I needed to give it another listen to see if there's anything to that. But I suspect there's probably a few words he said in there that
I think it's more that he's kind of like feelings. He's kind of I think there's something he says in the first series where he says to Mon, like, why does everything have to be so sad all the time?
Yeah.
And then in the wedding speech, he's basically like life will... And I kind of agree with him to a certain extent. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to think I'd join the rebellion and all that. But I agree with what he said about, no, the shit stuff will find its way in life. You ain't got to worry about that. You will experience crap. But
it finds you or something.
Yeah, make sure you notice and recognise joy when it arrives, because that's harder to find sometimes. And I think he's got a good point. I think he's at his core, he's got a good heart. He just he's a bit of a hedonist and selfish twat about it.
Yeah, he's just he's not one to make the sacrificial play.
A little bit shallow in ways, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be in for some interrogating though, because I can't see. ISB not cracking down.
If you were the ISB, assuming it still exists, you'd go straight to him, right?
Yeah,
go
all over that.
Your wife who gave that speech and then disappeared into thin air.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
We have a little word with you about that.
But he's mates with Tarkin, though, isn't he? So he's probably just got a Tarkin and go, I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. He's that. Well, I mean, that's his only play, isn't it? Is ignorance.
Yeah.
Just I had no idea.
Like, look, it was an arranged marriage. We don't actually love each other. She doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, plausible deniability. That's his only play, isn't it? So, but we don't know what his fate is beyond. Looking like he's just cracking on with life.
Cracking on, literally cracking on,
literally cracking on.
Anyway, that's enough of that. We've done that justice, I think, and
I think so.
Thank you to the makers for that.
Thank the maker.
Thank the maker, Tony, and everyone around you. Thank you.
We doff our hat to you, sir.
Yes. Right. Anyway,